Talking about you got this and you got that, and you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'm gonna put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Only Friends podcast. You guys may not be able to fully see what's going on here, but I have absorbed Guapo's role, and I have to tell you, the man makes it look easy.
It's not easy, is it?
Bro, what are we, hour 2 of pre-production right now?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I apologize. Today's been a tricky one.
That's why we come in early, you know?
That's right. Welcome to the show. As always, the tortoise, young Landon Tice.
I'm here sometimes.
Is this the last we're going to see of you?
No. I mean, there's Poker Go stuff today, but I'm here.
All right.
Probably fade it.
Okay. Well,
I'll be here. Tomorrow.
No.
Nope.
Today's Friday, big guy.
Right.
Thank God it's Friday.
That's right. Heinz Ward is in the building.
That's right. We had to go the throwback look. I'm going to show you guys this. This thing is a fucking dress. Look at this.
Is that Jace's?
Is that Jace's? Wow.
This is
Jace's catching stray.
This is a Hall of Famer.
Yep. Not yet.
Not yet. Maybe not ever.
Should be.
Maybe not ever. It's a very.
He should have got in just on his blocking.
I know.
Man.
What I'm saying, man.
What do we think? We think we're gonna pull the upset this weekend or what?
Upset.
Well, we're pretty big dogs in the eyes of, the experts.
Yeah, what the fuck do these guys know? I mean, I'm
they
just
don't know
saying.
Shit.
What are we down to now? 9.5 points?
Something like that, 9.5, yeah.
Okay. Well,
Didn't you get 11 against Platt?
It opened at 11.
Either 11 or 11.5.
Jeez,
Let me double check real quick. You guys can tell me what your thoughts are.
Well, I mean, you see.
Oh, I don't know if Brian thinks the Steelers are going to win or not.
Well, I'm not sure, but I don't think. I think 11, even 9.5 is a lot.
Yeah,
it's a playoff game.
Lower.
It's higher or lower. It's gonna be, a lot of snow, a lot of cold, all that bad weather is gonna, even the teams up a little bit. So yeah, I like the Steelers plus 9.5. I also like the Steelers 100-1 to win the whole thing. 100-1. Really?
Yeah.
There's only 14 teams.
I was asking Lamanna to get some money down for me. Fuck, I forgot to mute the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
We're learning. We're learning.
Yeah.
We're on the job.
Hey, learn on the fly,
That's right. We're just out here.
He pinged a message from himself. If you saw the chat, it said Matt.
I did. Did it actually show up?
Yeah.
Oh. Yep, there it is.
This is Matt, Only Friends podcast chat. I'll take Bills minus 11 for double or nothing.
Wait. Oh yeah, no, you're reading. I'm saying, did it show up on the screen?
No,
it showed up on my screen.
Okay. That's a little different.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you guys what Platt sent me. Just have to bear with me for a second.
Yeah,
but,
that's all right. You get there.
This is so easy. Guapa makes it seem like it's so fucking hard.
You just said this.
It's so hard.
Yeah, it really is.
It's so dumb. How
he speedran learning this stuff.
Well, you're
too.
also talking at the same time and running and like hosting and running the show, which is difficult. Now you have to switch, screens and get assets and also talk.
I could do this. I could do this in my sleep if I didn't have to actually talk to you guys in the same process. Yeah, in the same vein. But yeah,
I mean, we can make it the Tortoise Landon show.
This is this is very tricky. Where are we at here? Steelers, Bills. Okay. So
you were dragging it across.
Incoming. Okay. So this is what Platt sends me, and he goes, double or nothing. I'll take Bills plus or Bills minus 11.
Wow, double or nothing on the it was $1,000.
$1,000. $1,000. So here we are. Damn. We're out in these streets just printing because much like my man Sean Perry, they moved the fucking lines for your boy.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
They really did.
That's how you know you're on the right side of things is because they moved the lines for your boy, and now I'm just printing EV. Now look, I'm not saying that I'm gonna go 27-0 all the time. We all know that doesn't happen, but I'm out here. My shoes are off. I'm grounded. My brain's working so I can get you these fire picks of the Steelers -11. Get on it early.
The funny part about it is he probably did take the Steelers +11.
Yeah, actually. I mean, you don't got to be that fucking sharp to know that if you're betting against Platt, you're probably doing something relatively right.
Wow.
I mean, bang bang the Platt, but like you know how it goes.
I mean, if he's gonna come for the Steelers like that,
Yeah,
gotta let him know.
Yeah, hey, show me my money.
You put up the like and subscribe notification.
Yeah, it was good.
You could just let it subtly happen.
No,
I'm over here fucking cooking,
We're gonna
baby.
point out every little thing that you do.
I don't know if that was an accident or not.
Of course, it's not an accident. I'm
No,
over
we
here
just
fucking
clicking
cooking.
buttons.
Yeah,
bro's clicking buttons.
I'm just
for
out
sure.
here clicking. So let's get to my man Sean Perry. We can talk a little bit about whoa. What do we got?
What do we got?
I'm cooking. All right, I'm cooking.
That's okay.
We're cooking. Cook. I forgot to do the thing with the thing. Okay, let's get to the thing that I was referencing.
Papo, your job is saved.
Your job is safe. All right,
safe.
let's check this one out.
Yet again, every single bet that I post in my Telegram groups, the line has moved in my favor. When you bet things like this, your bookie, I promise you, will cut you off because this is a direct correlation of you winning money long term. I'm not going to be one of those handicappers that sit here and say, yo, every pick is a guaranteed win. I'm going to go 180-0 this season. Listen, I hate to break it to you, but that doesn't happen. This is what I do for a living. I'm going to make money long term. I'm going to beat the lines, and you guys are going to follow. So let's get rich together. Keep following my plays. Keep making money. Make sure you have my notifications turned on so you get in on the bets before others do, and don't waste time because the lines, I promise you, will move in our favor. Also, on top of it, instead of just getting rich together, I want you guys to be living an active, a healthy lifestyle. Like me right now, I'm at the park. I'm walking barefoot. I'm grounding. I just got done doing red light. It keeps my brain sharp so I can feed you guys good plays. I eat completely clean. I do zero alcohol. I do zero drugs. Yes. Yet again,
I'm ready to eat, baby. Let's eat with Sean Perry. Let's go. He's feeding us. We eat.
Did he get that outfit from Charlie?
I think he got it from Liver King, to be honest.
Yeah, Charlie at least has half a shirt on.
And I just played red light, green light.
Fuck, my bad. Now I understand how Guapa does.
Right.
I can see how it easily gets confused and you hear some background noise. But yeah, my man Sean Perry, like I said, he's out there. He's grounded. He's doing some Liver King shit so he can bring you to picks.
Touch grass, man.
That's right, touch grass. My man Will Jaffe had a little something to say about this one, though. So I think that his response is worthy of listening to.
Yet again, all of my poker students won money this week. All of my poker students got banned from playing in private games, got banned from playing in clubs because the information I gave them was so good. And look, there's a direct correlation between getting my poker coaching and how much you will win lifetime in playing poker. So look, I'm not going to be one of those bullshit poker coaches that tells you all of my students are going to win, because that's just not going to happen. It doesn't work like that. I'll be honest with you. I'll shoot you straight. Get in the Telegram chat, get updates ASAP. And on top of making you incredibly rich and have a prosperous family with a bunch of side bitches, I'm also going to help you get fit, get healthy, like myself right now. I'm eating clean. I'm actually at the park. I'm doing some grounding with my feet, and I just played red light, green light for mental purposes. So I'm super locked in right now, and I hope you guys will join me. And yeah, let's have a great year.
Where do we sign up for his poker coaching?
Oh, I don't know. I'm in.
www.dankness.com.
Bro, his meme game is very strong.
He needs to stick to this. Stick to what you're good at, cuz.
Yeah.
This is very good.
I like the meatloaf. The hairy chest really brought it out.
I noticed he didn't say that he doesn't do any drugs. I was expecting him to
stay clean,
to give the full clean bill of health, but it seems as though he's out there maybe partaking a little bit.
Red light, green light.
What the fuck is happening that Sean Perry is becoming a tout?
I don't know. Wait, I saw a tweet. He said he made millions of dollars playing poker. Does he play? He's a poker player?
He's won millions of dollars. Whether he has it or not is a different story.
Yeah.
He's cashed for a bunch on PGT.
Has he?
This is true. Yeah.
Okay.
He was third overall in the point system for Poker Go.
Oh, he was?
A couple years ago.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And then he stopped playing poker to find sports betting and grounding. So shout out to bro.
Now we know.
It's something.
Yeah.
Sean's not dumb. He's a sharp individual. I played a lot of high stakes with him back in the JRB game. And it was before anybody knew who he was. He definitely had the collective duped briefly. So it was one of those things where I actually got corrected quite often by the Rex because I would get so annoyed by the shtick that he was putting on that was so see-through. Like, there was an instance, I gave this example a bunch, but there was an instance where it was like Queens versus Ace King. And obviously he knows that Queens are a slight favorite and that anybody who gambles for a living would take Queens all day long.
Yeah.
And he just like keeps like professing that he'll take the Ace King 100 out of 100 times, that like it's a better hand type of thing. Like basically just playing really dumb. And the recreational was like, even they know that Queens has a slight edge here. Like they're not stupid. They got rich in a way that is it requires some level of intelligence, but they're pandering to him and they're placating him, and I don't get it. So he like gets up to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, how can you guys sit here with a straight face and tolerate that level of bullshit? And one of the guys looks at me and he goes, would you rather we kick him out? And I'm like, well, no, obviously, like, guys fucking rocketing it off here thinking that it's going to earn him a seat for life or whatever. Right. He lost a pile in that game. But my understanding is that he's gotten to game select pretty hard since, and he's probably made a lot of it back.
Yeah.
I don't know about his sports picks. I mean, I don't know if you've been following Weekend Warrior or anything, but like, we're pretty much smashing over here.
Yeah. Hitting those higher, hitting those lowers.
That's right. Whenever you guys want to start that Telegram group, you just let me know.
We're something. Yeah, it's just gonna be Steelers and Dolphins picks.
Right. Hey, better to be sharp on something.
Stick to what you know.
Exactly.
You get it, man.
Exactly.
You get it. We're gonna have a real snow-driven game this weekend, man.
So it looks like, huh?
I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
There was I should have cued the video, but there was a local KDK news report saying like, if you're heading to Buffalo,
I saw it. It was amazing.
If you're heading to Buffalo this weekend for the game, bundle up because it's going to be 50 mile an hour wind gusts, mile an hour. It's going to be snowing cats and dogs. And you can't get your Mason Rudolph jersey anywhere downtown because they didn't stock up and they're on back order.
Right.
So, break out the Jeromes, break out the Palomalus.
The Duck Hodges.
The Duck Hodges of the world, if you will. Duck Hodges, very popular shirt.
Yeah.
He was 2, right?
What?
He was number 2, right? Before Mason
he might
came?
Have been.
I think so, yeah. He's dating a very hot country star now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
And then they said, if you want the cheapest gas.
I mean, it makes sense. If your name is Duck, you have to have number 2, right?
Yeah, I would think so. And they said, if you want the cheapest gas on your way to Buffalo. Now, this is a hack we already knew.
Mm-hmm.
We're well versed.
We are.
In driving fucking I-90 up to Niagara Falls because we used to round that area. If you want the cheapest gas, you stop in Irving, New York, home of one Silver Creek bingo hall.
Man.
Back where it all started, Brian.
That's right. It was a bingo hall. We never played bingo there.
We never played bingo.
Well,
no. Well, we played a little bit of bingo, but different
in the form
version.
of 2 cards.
Yeah.
2-card bingo.
1-1 no limit, Landon.
1-1.
$3 rake plus $2 for the bad beat jackpot.
You ever hit that?
$40 maximum buy-in.
No, but I did make a Royal Flush there, and they gave me a white polo shirt that said Royal Flush.
That's true.
Seneca, Irving, Silverton.
I actually believe
Silver Creek.
I think Silver Creek has since closed.
Yeah,
you still have that
since
shirt?
closed.
It's got to be somewhere. I don't have it. It might be back in my parents' house.
I feel like this is something Chico has.
Next time he just rocks it.
Where's the shirt that you still have?
What shirt?
There was a shirt that you had of like an all-star.
The 94 All-Star jersey?
Yeah.
I'll wear it one of these days. I was going to gift it to Lamanna for Christmas.
Yeah,
that would be.
I don't want that.
God,
shit.
that would have been so fucking base.
If I didn't earn it, I don't want it. I earned that Royal Flush.
That's right.
I earned it.
That is true.
Oh man. Yeah. So you get your gas there because I think
$2.99.
No taxes, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's an Indian reservation. Get cheap cigarettes too. Old PJ, he likes to go up to the PJ, my neighbor, former Navy SEAL. He gives me the old hoorah every time I go home. By the way, Perry's going to get, not to go on a side tangent here, but Perry's going to get his face mushed in one of these days by a fucking actual Marine whenever he's ending all of his Instagram videos with hoorah as he's fucking touting a bunch of picks and scamming people out of however
Maybe
much.
he was a former Marine.
No, he wasn't. I can fact check that one. Look, yep, there it is.
Not as lean, still as mean, always a Marine.
Still was not a former. But yeah, PJ, man, big smoker, loves to go to Salamanca just to hit the slots and get some cigs. He comes back with those generic ass filterless, whatever, Salem's, I think. I don't know.
Man.
Loves it. Man, I miss those days.
I tell you.
Round in the old Seneca, Niagara. I'm headed to Canada.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to Montreal.
You've decided you're going?
I am. It's locked. Well, assuming I can get my passport.
Locked in.
I'm going to get my passport renewed or whatever the fuck happens when you lose one.
You have to go to the embassy.
Yeah, I have to go to Arizona.
You going to Arizona?
Next Friday.
Why not?
Trust me. Tammy did the research. It was the fastest way to like get in and get out of a city. I could have went to LA, but I had to be there at 8 a.m., so I would have had to go the night before. That's miserable.
Yeah, I went with Jenna on the LA trip.
Yeah. But
took a day.
For me, I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible. So I didn't want to go to LA like 9 p.m. the night before, get a hotel, spend the night, battle traffic to get to the fucking place by 8 a.m.
Miserable.
Battle traffic back to get to the airport by like noon and then get back here like mid-afternoon. Instead, I got a 1 p.m. or 12:30 p.m. Appointment in Tucson. Southwest flies direct. So I land at 11, Uber, get the passport, Uber back, home probably by 3.
You can get the passport immediately. That's the plan, at least.
That's
you're trying to speed run the passport game.
I made an emergency appointment. They give you a 3-day emergency window. Made it. And yeah, I'm it seems as though that's all I have to do. I have to show up with money, a passport photo, and proof of travel.
Most of the
Not
time
too
is
bad.
passport
Not
stuff
too
like
bad.
free, but because it's expedited, it costs money.
Well, it's not free, but it's cheap.
Yeah.
It's going to cost me like $400.
What's happening in Montreal?
So WPT Global, they are hosting a meetup game at Playground during one of their tournament series up there. So it's going to be myself, Schwan, and a few others. We're going to be playing, I believe it's January 31st. So once again, I'll be spending my birthday weekend at a casino.
Yeah.
But this time I'll
It's
get
not Brigada, so you'll be all right.
Yeah, I'll get to see the lovely faces of our Canadian brethren. And we're hosting a meetup game, I believe, on the 31st at Playground in Montreal. Then there is a main event, day 1A on the 1st, day 1B on the 2nd, and day 2 on the 3rd. So I'm going to be playing in that. And,
Make sure it doesn't conflict with the Steelers AFC Championship game.
fuck, I didn't even consider that.
Nor should you.
No, I did consider that, actually, Brian. I actually, believe it or not that I was considering the AFC Championship, but I was considering Super Bowl weekend.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, I'm not going there
Right, if it's Super Bowl weekend.
during the Super Bowl while the Super Bowl's in Vegas. That would
Right.
be insane.
Yeah.
So I looked, and the Super Bowl is the 11th, I believe.
It's the 8th or 9th, maybe. Sounds right.
I don't have easy access to
I
it.
do.
Oh, yeah, I do. There we go. It is...
Oh, yeah, you're right. The 11th. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sunday the 11th. So I'm there the week prior, which means it's off week.
Yeah.
I'm there during news week,
Yep.
I guess there's no Monday night. They would never do a Monday night champion. It doesn't matter. Monday's my birthday anyway. I won't be traveling. So I'm traveling Tuesday.
Yeah, there's no Monday night.
Yeah. So actually, when it's all said and done, how hilarious is this? When it's all said and done, we're going to have a month of shows of just mostly you and me, a little Landon sprinkled in.
Yep.
And then whenever Conrad finally gets back, I leave the next day.
Hand off.
Hand off. Come fucking do it, buddy. Guapo will be back at that point too.
Yeah.
So, we're
We're trading you for Conrad and Guapo.
Yeah, I think it's a fair trade.
Yeah.
I think it's a fair trade.
2 for 1.
Yeah. What are you getting at here?
I was
Landon?
just making sure I knew what the trade was.
Oh. Okay. Well, now you know.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
Okay, let's we got a user submission today for In the Muck.
Let's get mucky.
He's really in the muck. So
Oh.
let's get to this one.
All right.
All right. We have a very special submission from one of our esteemed Discord members.
All right.
Big shout out to hold on, let me get the name. Oh, I thought I needed to click on it to bring the name up, but no, it's just R.
R.
Yeah, I got tricked.
All right.
So big
shout out to R.
Big shout out to R. How you doing out there, R?
Mm-hmm. Don't leave us hanging.
Respect to my guy. He is playing 1-3 no limit, and in this particular instance, he's going to be the button, and he is going to be 150 big blinds effective.
Not that it matters, but do we know where he's playing at?
We don't. It was not disclosed. Could be a home game. Could be a
home game.
Not if it's one of Will Jaffe's students.
Could it be?
That's true.
That's right.
Respect to Jaffe. So in this instance, it's going to fold to him on the button, and he's going to have king queen offsuit. His name is actually not Vic. I just forgot to change it.
All right.
So he's going to open 4x to 12.
Seems like a good
And
flop.
How do I pause this thing?
Whoa,
Okay, let's go back. Okay. So he's going to stab pretty big here. He's going to go for the old 75%er.
Okay.
And he's going to get met by a call from the big blind. Now, queen 7 deuce. This is chunky. This is a greedy bet. Very greedy bet.
Seems dry and advantageous for us.
I would say so. So turn 4 doesn't really change too much. We're going to see the old big blind just take the lead here.
Okay.
He's gonna lead for 40%.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Game is gone, bro. River 3. We're going to see another like hedgy-ish bet of, I guess, like 40-ish% again. And Vic feels like he was in the blender here. He's going to elect a call, not Vic, but R. He's going to elect a call with the old king queen, and even though the replayer won't display it, he gets shown the bad news of 5-6 of diamonds for his opposition.
Okay, so they had backdoors on the flop.
Yeah.
6 high.
Yeah.
Backdoors.
So let me read what his question was in the muck, as you know, maybe that will frame things a little bit better. He said, "My question is, was my pre-flop or flop sizing too small given the villain decided to continue past the flop? I can't help but feel I went too small somewhere. I figure on the end I was crying calling against a set or maybe a weird as hell 2-pair that the big blind just decided to defend with, and I don't think I have any folds here."
So I think this is this mindset that people have, and I've noticed that it's like they think they can control, and you've spoken to this before, Burke, where they think they can control what the other person's going to do. Like, it's just like, oh, well, if I'd have just bet bigger, they would have folded their flush draw, and then they wouldn't have got there, and I would have won the pot. Well, I should have just bet bigger. It was a big mistake not to do that. And that's just not the case because you're kind of forgetting the rest of their range when you're focusing on the only thing that happened to beat you.
Yeah, I think there are 2 points specifically that I'd like to hear your guys' response on. First and foremost, his notion that when he arrives at the river, he feels like he's making a crying call versus a slow played set or weird 2-pair. Now, he faced 40% on turn and river. Can you guys talk a little bit about why he would feel like at this point in the hand, he's making a crying call in some sort of capacity?
Emotional hedge. That's all I got.
Yeah, I think maybe when like you have the lead in the hand and then all of a sudden the villain takes the lead out of position, you just think like, well, they must have just improved a lot enough to take the lead and be comfortable with their hand because if they're like check calling leading, they're saying they don't care if they get raised. So then I guess maybe you just think, well, I just have 1 pair and that's not enough. But the fact that, you know, they bet 40% on the river, and that should not make king queen indifferent.
No.
but
No
like
shot.
somehow it did.
It just kind of
it made like the specific person.
It just breaks like game flow where standard, no limit, live, small stakes, whatever. Like there's always the bets and the checks, and it goes check call, or if somebody raises, they're gonna mostly barrel the turn a ton. There's not much of the disconnected lines of the check raise, check, or the lead never really happens anyways. So when the lead does come in, it's that feeling of, my hand's really good and I bet big on the flop, but now he says that he has a better hand than top pair. So now I'm kind of scared and not sure if my hand's good anymore.
Yeah, so to catch everybody up that may be listening on audio, the situation is folds to the button. We raise with king, queen off to 4x. Big blind defends. Comes queen of clubs, 7 of hearts, deuce of diamonds. Check, bet 80%, call. Turn 4 of diamonds. Break flow, lead for 40%, call. River 3 of spades, bet 40% again. Call down with king, queen, and get shown the bad news of 5-6, which is a backdoor nut straight. Now, what I was trying to kind of pull out of you guys, and I really need to hammer this home because we got some in the mucks lined up for next week that are going to challenge this concept. But specifically, this is what I'm talking about when I say that you need to have the mindset of just pay.
So these situations, I definitely agree with you because it's just like,
if not this, then what?
If not this, then what? So like, right. Like
put that on a t-shirt.
No, right. So like, I disagree with like a lot of situations where like, they're just going to always have it. But in this situation, they just didn't put enough pressure on you. They just have too big of a range here for you to fold. Like, it's not like you bet all 3 streets and then they check raised you on the river. Right. That's different, right? That you're just going to get shown the nuts.
Now, you're
not going to get shown a bluff.
I want to defend my just pay narrative a little bit, and then I want to kind of talk about some of the things that you guys mentioned here because I think they're worth mentioning. So first of all, when I'm talking about just paying, like, look, I understand the advice that I'm giving you guys. Like, you're going to lose money.
My advice for you is to call with the worst hand and give them money.
No, not that. not over the long run. You're not going to lose money over the long run, but you're going to lose money until you adapt to the other aspect of the game tree. It's not that it's a mistake to pay. What's a mistake is that you're not aggressive enough with the rest of your hands. So because you're not bluffing enough, then yes, when you're put into a position to bluff catch, they have it because they view you as being value-centric. And this is applicable to almost everybody listening to this in the low and mid stakes, Guapo included. I wish he was here for this. I know that he's convinced that he's like redlining these people to death, but you're not. What's happening is you're barreling with fucking pairs. And you're getting calls and then folds or just immediate folds, right? Or your C-bets are getting through on the flop. Getting your C-bet through on the flop, yeah, of course, that adds to your red line. That's not what we're talking about, though. Right? Like, that's just clearly taking advantage of an imbalance in the pool. And you're making immediate EV because they don't defend enough, whatever. Point being is that when your river bluff frequencies aren't high enough, when your turn bluff frequencies aren't high enough, when your check raise frequencies, your check raise bluff frequencies aren't high enough, then yes, the entire pool itself, you included, will converge on making really tight conservative folds because nobody's showing up with the nothing. However, if you are the aggro guy in the game who is going for it with value and going for it with bluffs, people start to fight in ways that you wouldn't ever be able to predict. You will start to see a lot more random hands in that check raising range by your opposition. You'll start to see a lot more randomness in these breaking of flow turn donk lead spots, right? Now, with that said, the biggest reason why I'm saying just pay is almost a preemptive punishment to you. You need to develop a callus around the idea of it's okay to lose with the top of your range. Right? If you don't ever develop the mindset of certain hands are worth certain amount of pot share, and if I happen to lose when they are worth that amount of pot share, God bless. So be it, right?
This happened yesterday where I bet 2 pair got jammed on, and I'm like, well, I mean, I'm probably going to lose, but the hand's too good. I'm not going to worry about it.
Right.
And your win rate's not going to be predicated on making these folds. If anything, your win rate's going to be predicated on not making them.
Exactly. That's precisely it. And I understand when you're in an environment where it's like you just get shown a better hand time and time again, they're that predictable. It's like, yes, that's true, but it's a trap. If you fall down that rabbit hole, now you can't bet anything, right? How can you bet? Because if you get responded with any level of aggression, you have to fold, even if you're at the top, and they don't call enough because you don't bluff enough. So like, what are we doing here? We're all just checking down to the river. Yeah. The way to break this is to get yourself calloused to the point where it's like, if I have certain hands that are high enough up in my range, then they possess enough equity where unless I'm facing like ridiculous sizings, which you never will, you just pay. Facing 40% pot, like you're supposed to pay down to like third pair here.
Yeah, like 40% on the river, and you have top pair, great kicker, like second best kicker. It's just a layup. Oh, I don't like
versus this size. You're calling with like a lot of hands that contain just a 5.
I would, you just call ace 5.
Well, ace 5 is a straight.
Or sorry, you just call like flops bottom pair.
Yeah, like 7-5.
It's queen
like,
7 deuce, right? You just have ace deuce, and you bet smaller on flop.
Yeah, and like you just have like 7-5 here that like you happy call with because what the fuck do you got? You know, like what are you trying to say that you got here? You call with like hands that contain a 6 because what are you trying to say? But
like if he had 9-8 of diamonds, maybe he plays it the same way.
Yeah, maybe.
Right. And now you fold like, and now he's left with like 9 high, and he bet and he bluffs
just hedges.
He bluffs 40% on the river because when they bluff, they always bluff like small like that.
Right, yeah.
And now you're folding king queen, and you're just torching.
Right,
absolutely torching.
Like brass taxes, like it simply does not matter. It doesn't matter what he's doing. It doesn't matter what the bluffs are. It doesn't matter if you can find them or not. What matters is you getting a sick price on the river with a really good hand.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's the callus that I think I'm trying to encourage people to build is stop worrying so goddamn much about how you can save money with the best possible hands that you can be holding in this scenario.
Yeah, there's like a weird ego attached to never paying or never getting the money in bad or
it's
never.
like the old Kessler mindset.
Well, it's like the Hellmuth. Like I put in like I've made this huge fold somewhere else, but then I got my last 5 bigs with ace king versus ace 10, and the guy that put it in with ace 10's an idiot.
Right.
That spiked it off. It's like well.
And I think I don't think you're saying like don't ever make exploitable folds.
No, because I'm saying don't yet. Earn them.
Right. Yeah.
Right. You got to earn the exploitable folds. You need to earn the ability to fold these good hands because you're so confident in your strategy and where you're making money. Otherwise, if you're folding all of these big hands, where is your money coming from? Where are you earning? That's the part that I want to know. Right? Like, it's clear to me that Guapo's making money in these small stakes games. It's clear to me that you're making money in these games.
So. Like, I think if you ask the average person that question, they would say, I'm earning my money by saving money by those folds and then them calling me when I have the same hand. Them not being able to make the fold where I can make the fold.
Well, we just know that's not true, though.
I know, but I'm saying that's what...
I know, I understand, right. But like that's the catch-22, right? Is that... We just understand that you guys aren't getting your value paid often enough, right? Because like you're afraid to bet really strong hands a third time because by the time you do, they only have better.
Yeah.
You know, that type of shit. So like, yeah, I agree with you. You're going to extract more value from the top of your range when you get to be the aggressor. It's just more so about like keeping that in mind. Like just because you're in the defensive node of the tree doesn't mean that these hands would like shrink in value. The second thing I want to touch on is like what happens when flow gets broken, like Landon was talking about. The easy assumption is that like, oh, that card improved somebody. And that's true. Generally, when someone breaks flow, it's going to be because something about the texture of that card in particular gives them the impetus to want to bet.
More 2 pairs, more straights, more trips on a paired board. It's like a middle or small, right? These are spots.
It's like when you see middle pair, middle card pair a lot, you see a lot of leads.
Yeah.
Right. Come in.
And that in theory makes a lot of sense because you now have a large concentration of those sort of hands
like
as the defender.
You checked and called a bet and they placed a bet. So your range is tighter.
Yeah. Now what I want to say about like this particular texture is that card doesn't change anything. All it does is bring diamonds. It doesn't really improve any 2 pairs. Like if bro has 7-4 or queen 4, God bless. Like what are you going to do? You're not trying to mitigate your loss here versus like these hands that make up 1% of his range.
Right.
You know, that just simply doesn't matter. But what he does do is pick up a lot of backdoors now. And sure, there's a world where like he has a set and he was planning on check call, check raising, but then got scared because he thinks you aren't going to barrel the 4 and chooses to lead instead. Yeah, that world exists.
Or he just has like queen 10 and now he wants to protect his hand.
Those hands fall in the same category.
Yeah, I think,
bet to find out where I'm at.
I think the fear is after big bet on flop on rainbow board, the backdoors aren't that relevant or necessary. And sure, sometimes like bro has weird straight thing, but we're not here to predict if he has weird straight thing.
Right.
We're here to just, does it make a reasonable amount of sense to have a flush draw? Kind of, if they have a pair with it, but now why would you lead it?
Right.
I don't care. Like, honestly, I don't care.
I don't care because it doesn't happen.
I don't care because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't need to figure out why.
And I have a king and a queen. I can just raise here for value.
Exactly.
Like, it's fine.
Exactly. And I think you touched on the last point that I wanted to make, where he was asking if his sizing was too small on the flop because 6 high found its way to the river.
Like, this guy made a bad play. How can I go? Like, can I go 2x pot to make him fold 7 high, no draw, and only get continued on by better?
Yeah,
that doesn't sound very good either.
Yeah, you never want that, right?
Right. So he's missing the forest for the trees here in the sense that, like, the guy made a clear mistake.
Yeah.
And rather than being happy that we're extracting value from such a poor range of hands, we instead focus on, like,
we get mad about it.
Right, because now R makes a bit of an error on the turn by not raising. So it becomes full circle of, like, how could I have prevented my own error by allowing him to prevent his own error also? Because what ends up happening is the way the mind, like the range moves in a particular way, right? Based off of the actions that took place. And because he bet so fucking big on the flop, he had himself convinced that only better hands were calling now. Right? So he just stripped himself of all the value of king queen.
And if you go even bigger, like you reduce it down to like only sets call, or something like that, and that's just a terrible spot to be in when you have top pair.
I flopped king queen on queen 7 deuce. I went all in because I wanted him to call with worse, and he called me with middle set.
Yeah.
Like, very clearly there's a line where it's like, this is too much.
I would be curious if out of position had checked the turn, if R would have checked back, because my inclination is the answer is probably yes. I think people understand that they need to take corrective action after putting in a large bet and getting called, right? And that's the biggest issue of all that we're talking about here. This is why no one wants to fucking pay at the end.
Yeah.
Because they make the error early in the hand and they overly funnel their opponent's range into good hands and high equity hands, which then naturally dilutes the equity of whatever it is that they were betting. So now the turn comes off and they have to check back, and now they leave themselves bluff catching with the top of their range on the end. And they feel like it's never good because their opposition doesn't bluff.
Yeah.
They forget about the times that, like, their opponent then checks a third time on the river and they have a clear value bet now with top of range, right? So it's this weird catch-22 where it's like, well, if I check back to induce a bluff on the river and I get said bet, or I face said bet, my hand's no good. But if I check back to induce a bluff on the river and he checks, I know that he has worse showdown value and I can now bet for value, right? And that's probably all true. It's just a game not worth playing. Like, it's a fool's errand.
It's too much mental capacity.
Yeah, you're just doing mental gymnastics here, trying to manipulate outcomes that instead are, it's just lazy, man. Like, and sorry, I'm not like harping on R here. This is a mid-stakes problem as a whole.
Right.
It's a lazy way of thinking because you don't care to understand your own range or have any awareness over your opposition's range.
I don't even know if it's lazy, more so as an emotional hedge to protect their value and try to win the hand. Where it's like, if I have the best hand now, how do I continue winning the hand, even if it means I don't get value on the river and they improve?
Right. So it's a lack of desire of playing the quote-unquote game.
It's not the optimal strategy. It's a strategy that lets you win.
Well, not just let you win, but let you
win less.
Emotionally hedge so that you're not losing with good hands.
You're trading real dollars for mental cope.
Yeah, it's like the notion of like just jamming aces pre, right? Because you don't want to have to play them post and then deal with the fact that sometimes they get cracked.
Yeah, I mean, I make this mistake sometimes in some lines where I'd rather not play the uncomfortable river and get value on the turn, and sometimes it actually does forsake value. So it's not like it's something that actually actively goes away. But sometimes we all get emotionally attached to trying to win certain pots, whether it be in a tournament after losing some, whether it be in like a big cash game and you have like a big pot and you're thinking, if I lose this hand, I'm going to run out of money or I'm going to have a losing session and that doesn't feel very good. And if I just got value on the turn, even if you know that you're making an exploitative play, is it the actual right decision, or is it something that makes you feel good because you know if you get called by worse and you win, but if they fold, you don't lose to a river flush or whatever it could be?
Yeah.
It happens at all stakes and all spots, but like some spots, it's a lot more clear to have the decision versus the mental hedge.
Yeah. So the big takeaway here, if we want to just summarize, I think, is to just understand that your ability to control outcomes or even to control actions by your opposition is near zero. All you can really concern yourself with is what your exact hand is worth and what your range is incentivized to do. So it becomes hyper important to have some concept of how board textures work and how they interact with your range, how board textures allow you to be aggressive versus passive, and how your range then will shift dependent upon if you took an aggressive action or not. So, betting 75% pot on the flop is certainly not a thing. Like we're pretty confident of that, unless like the big blind is just ridiculously tight. Mm-hmm. If he's ridiculously tight, then yeah, you get to have big bets, but it's because you don't get to bet very often because he just has really good hands. That's never going to be the case. He has good hands
when he continues.
I guess that's not never the case, right? Because like there's certain
on this texture.
Yeah, but I'm saying like there's certain like old man coffees and there's certain like players who just are very, very tight. Now when you raise the button and they respond with a call, you're like, okay, they do have a tight range because this person just plays super tight.
Yeah, perhaps. Perhaps. But I mean,
I'm saying that's a specific situation.
That's really not incentivizing you to bet larger. It's just incentivizing you to bet less, right? Less frequently. It's giving you more checkbacks on Queen 7 deuce.
It's the weird in between of you don't bet as much because if you get check raise, it's really annoying. But these people don't really check raise; they just check call. So how bad can a bet really be?
Well, if you're betting into a 12% range with a 60% range, it's going to be bad.
Yeah,
it's going to be very bad. If they have a range that's supposed to be 3-betting pre almost exclusively, then yeah, it's going to be really bad. But that's neither here nor there. That's not the point that I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is such that you can't control the response. You can't control the outcome. All you can really control is how you derive value and EV based off of the hand that you hold and the range that you currently possess, matching with the board texture. Yeah. So the desire to bet large here because you have a value hand is very, very ill-advised. You don't have good bluffs that want to go 75% pot here, especially when your range is infinite. If you're opening a proper button range, you have like 60% of hands. And then secondary to that, it's you can't fall victim to the fear response whenever your opponent then decides to just like do random shit. Like if they want to block bet into you on the turn out of the blue on a card that's for all intent and purposes good for your range, then you just get to say fuck you and raise. Mm-hmm. You have position, you have the range advantage, you have the EV advantage, you have all these things, and these are critical things to understand if you even want to break even at mid stakes. I don't care how soft the games are. Like, can you play a very basic ABC non-theoretical strategy at mid stakes and make a very small earn? Absolutely. But if that's your ambition, God bless you, but that's also going to be your ceiling. You're just going to be the guy who shows up for entertainment purposes only to win a few bucks an hour and kind of knit a sweater in the process. If that sounds fun, do it. I don't want to discourage.
The machine's good because it doesn't really care about what the runouts are and what the board textures are. It just finds ways to play spots regardless of what happens. Mm-hmm. And the more that you can get into the mentality of, sometimes a 4-liner comes when I have a set, or sometimes a flush draw comes in when I have a set, versus always playing these spots aggressively, it's actually going to help your win rate even more. Yeah,
agreed. All right, let's take a look at what happens in theory in this particular spot. So you can see that like we do have a clear range bet here. This board texture is about as advantageous as you'll see for the button.
Where's
Queen
the wizard?
7 deuce. We'll get to the end.
Oh, okay.
Because this hand goes off the rails very quickly.
Gotcha.
So you'll see that like past this point, nothing theoretical happens.
Shout out to Queen 5 off from the button.
So we're pretty much capped at a 40% pot size here if we're going to bet for range. So betting 75% obviously is going to change the strategy a lot. But let's just follow through, assuming we bet smallish and we face a call. Turn is then going to be the 4 of diamonds. And as you can see, we're going to face exactly 0 leads here. Or at least I'm pretty confident. Yeah. So no leads, no shock. Also, you can see that 6-5 suited isn't in there at all because when we choose this larger size of 40%, big blind needs to respond with more check raises.
Where's the 0.1% that leads?
Who knows? Who knows? Can't even find it. So you can see that it's a pretty aggressive check raising strategy here, and it's going to be rather polar. So these backdoor type hands, 6-5 of diamonds, these are going to be pure raises on the flop. Now you can see no leads, can't even find it. Check, obviously. Or actually, we shouldn't even do that. We should see what happens when it leads. And now you can see King Queen playing near pure raise. So there's a couple combinations, specifically King of Diamonds, Queen of Spades.
This is when they do lead.
Correct.
Okay.
So King of Diamonds, Queen of Spades will be the combo that like wants to trap here a little bit. But outside of that, like just a complete pure raise. And the reason for this is that you just deserve the pot share, right? Like king queen just has so much pot share here that it's losing money if it allows out of position to realize its equity for such a cheap price. It's just what I mean by pot share is it's just worth more than 40% of the pot.
So going back to R's question of what can I have done, and like maybe I should have bet bigger on the flop. What you should have done was raise the turn.
Correct. And
That's how you prevent deny them equity and prevent and get your bigger pot share.
And it's not even about denial, right? It's about just charging.
Charging. That's what I mean. Yeah, I should say.
Because as you can see,
they're not going to fold.
Right, and as you can see, it's a very polar raise size. So we're raising to 115% of the pot. I'm almost positive this is 2E. So we're going geo here so that we can be all in on the river. And you can see that this strategy is driven by our sets. So it's our pocket fours, pocket sevens, pocket deuces. These are all pure raises, right? And then we start to build around that with the strongest top pairs. So it's aces, ace queens, kings, less so queens. That gets to be our pure trap or close to it because it's just so good that our opponent's drawing dead a lot of the time. But we use a lot of like top pairs, the stronger top pairs, king, queen suited. These are all pure raises. And then, we'll obviously sprinkle in a lot of bluffs. Most of these are going to be diamond combos, whatever the case may be.
And the majority of the players out there are going to find the top. They're going to find the raises with the fours and the sevens.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? For sure. It's hard to find
the biggest error they'll make is they'll make it too small. Right? They won't go for this pot size. Now, obviously, when we do raise pot, 5-6 of diamonds is either going to respond through a call or a jam. It's never going to fold. It's too much equity, but that's not the point. The point is that we want to do what's most heavily incentivized. So error on the turn, for sure, coming through a call. Now 3 of spades on the river. He gets a lot of bets, but it's supposed to be a block. This is largely because he has no 6-5. So he actually doesn't have the nuts here. He does have a little bit of ace-5. And you can see whatever king-queen gets here, albeit very little, it's just a pure call. Like, we're so happy to call versus small size. So 25%, 40% doesn't really matter. So, if we're talking about what does the wizard think of this entire line?
He looks angry.
It's unlucky. Sorry, R. We're not fans of this one. Now, I did go ahead and run it in a manner that allows us to see what happens if we node lock. So I think this is a good opportunity to kind of demonstrate how node locking works in this particular instance. Obviously, we can change bet sizing. That makes it pretty easy. Shockingly, you still get to range bet for 75%. I was a little surprised to see that. I didn't think that this would actually function this way. I thought it would change a lot. But this is the only reason this is true is because I have him node locked at pretty much a pure call with most of the hands that we'll be playing raise. So you can see I only have him raising 4.5%, and it's very value driven. So it's going to be all of his 2 pairs, sets, and then like a sprinkle of hands like 5-4, which is nothing but a backdoor, right? Like hands like 7-5, I allowed those to have some raises, 8-6, whatever. Most of that was just because I don't know where he's pulling his bluffs from, so I lazily just like left in what theory would do. But at the end of the day, because he really doesn't check raise us at all, what that allows for is it works backwards. So now we're allowed to range bet again. If I took this node lock off, we were only betting like, I think 75% of the time for this size. And we had a lot of hands that would like pure check, like Jack 4 suited, pure check, Jack 5 suited, pure check, that type of stuff. When they don't respond with enough aggression, which I think is going to be very true in the live realm, then we get to c-bet a lot more freely, of course. But we're taking advantage of the fact that there's an exploit available, right? And we have to correct for that now on future streets. So if we get back to the sim, what we can see is we're letting him call basically with like 6-5 any backdoor, turn 4 of diamonds, and now I node locked him once again. So if you want to see like how I locked this, I guess I don't need to really pull it up. You can see where the candidates are locked at. But I basically just had him blocking with hands that improved. So either improved to a diamond draw, a straight draw, or to 2 pair plus, right? So I have him blocking with like sets. I have him blocking with like queen 4 suited. I missed the 7-4 suited one, but that's kind of okay. I have him leading here a high percentage with like 6-5. Some of the diamond draws, like queen X of diamonds, I have that in there. Ace 5, we have that in there. Ace 3, all this type of stuff. Like it's all just kind of the intuitive nature of what we would expect happens at small stakes, where people see card and it either drives fear in them or it excites them because it had some impact on their range, right? So we locked them for a strategy where the card impacted their range and they chose to bet. Now, as you can see, King Queen doesn't change. Still worth full 100% pot share.
Yeah.
Right? So we're still going for it here with something pretty close to a geo size. And it's still driven by the exact same hands that were previously driven in the other strategy. It's built around our value. Our sets are going to go for it. Our overpairs are going to go for it. And our top pair pluses are going to go for it. And that is, bear in mind, that is with me giving the lead only high equity hands.
Right.
Yeah. It's mostly 2 pair plus and then combo draws and some other diamond draws.
They just have enough combo draws and enough diamond draws for you to still be able to raise the
precisely. And we have enough equity against a lot of the 2 pair plus type of things, right? Like the bottom 2s and shit like that.
Yeah, when you think about all the diamonds they can have, all the straight draws that they can have compared to their value, it's lopsided.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we do continue through a call in spite of the fact that, this is going to be a raise with our exact candidate. River 3 of spades. We gave him his 45% lead frequency. You can see 6-5 plays a pure bet here. No surprise. And again, like this lead is pretty value driven, but he also has like,
misdraws.
He has enough bluffs, right? He has like the jack 9s that just decided to YOLO it off on the turn and follow through. He's betting relatively small, so he doesn't need to even have much board interaction. He just needs to find the bottom of his range and hope that it can pick up the pot some percentage of the time. Now, when we look at our hands that have gotten here, obviously, like any queen that has gotten this far, there isn't a lot of it, but any queen that's gotten here, pure call. So, you're not in the muck when it comes to the river play. Right. The muck was the flop and the turn. And the turn was predicated upon the flop, right? By river, you felt like you were always beaten because you bet so fucking large on the flop. You felt like hands like what existed would have folded the flop. Therefore, if he doesn't have enough bluffs on the end, and it's hard for him to have a worse queen taking a check call lead line, my king queen must be no good, right? This deductive reasoning, though, it has a lot of flawed logic in it, in the sense that, well, he called you a 6 high on the flop, my guy. Which means he has a whole host of shit.
Yeah.
What does Queen X out of position do on the river?
For out of position? Let's take a look, Landon. I would assume it probably blocks. Nope, it checks.
Yeah, this is why you can't really bet.
A little bit of blocking.
That's why you can't really raise the king queen.
The offsuit queens are the ones that are doing... actually, it's just queen jack that checks. So it's his best queen checks. Everything else does the blocking. That kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. Just
frees up more bluffs for imposition.
King queen plays call where like most of the hands that... Well, it's because of the raise size. Like if you look back at river raise size, it's all in. Yeah. Now if you jam, you don't get called enough by worse queen X.
Correct.
And you get called by like 2 pair plus. But if you have like a custom like small raise size, it might get in there. Yeah. Like you do like a raise 50 instead of 150. Yeah. King queen. Like you still target queen 9, queen 8. Right. Whatever those hands are that can exist. But I wouldn't jam king queen. If I was only playing jam or call as a strat.
It's a little bit too weak. I agree with you. So I think that is a pretty good example of what I've been complaining about, if that's the right word. This is why, like, I should have elaborated on the just pay, right? Yeah. And I think this gives us an opportunity to. It really just comes down to controlling your sizings and understanding your range, right? Mm-hmm. Like, at the end of the day, when I say just pay, I'm really just telling you, like, stop sweating the coolers and start understanding that most of the money is being made actually, quote unquote, in the muck. Right. So if you find yourself in the muck and you would like to submit a hand for us to go over on one of these segments and see if it's wizard approved, be sure to head over to our Discord channel. You can find that. I have it. I keep saying, I keep making this mistake. I keep saying it's pinned to the Only Friends Twitter account, but it's actually pinned to the Solve for Why Twitter account.
Right.
So head to @SolveForWhy TV. You'll see it as our pinned tweet. That link will take you to our Discord channel. You will find a forum there where you can submit your own personal In the Muck segment, which we will cover at some point on this show. Moving right along, as we tend to do. Moving right along.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that one. So yesterday was the Poker Go Championship. Played down to a winner. It was a 2-day tournament. So the way this was billed was sort of like rake back to those who really grind the PGT leaderboard. Top 40 made it. They added in this Dream Seat additional thing, which there were 2 qualifiers that came from the Last Chance series. That was shout out to Wagons, Dylan DeStefano, and who's the other one made it?
Sam Laskowitz.
Right, your boy Laskowitz made it. So those 2 snuck in based off of the Last Chance series. And then kind of out of nowhere, I think, a bunch of other recreationals were just kind of like added to the field. And my understanding is that the prize pool was largely put up by some sponsors, Monkey Tilt and what was the second one? Mezcal, yeah. And I guess the sponsors had the opportunity to just get random recs and have them, go shield the brand, but also get to play for their portion of a 500K prize pool.
Run Good also had a seat to give away.
Okay. So there were a handful of them. Now we can get into the discussion of what this all means, and we will, because Foxen was rather outspoken about it, and I think it's an interesting discussion to have. But prior to that, Phil Hellmuth was in the mix. And, according to him, he had a hell of a year.
Yep.
Attaboy, Phil. We're all proud of you, big guy. So he had a hell of a year, but he was very disappointed in busting this. And honestly, I guess before we actually get to the Hellmuth interview, I had a little something to say about this. So I tweeted out and I quoted the interview or whatever, and I said that we all have a little fun with Phil's consistent ego fueled behavior, but I think this was genuinely one of the most sincere interviews he's done. Nice to hear a more thoughtful version of him peek through the thinly veiled brags. Now, you guys can kind of tell me what you think as far as this interview goes, and if you agree or disagree.
Phil, overall, were you pleased with your play today?
Overall, yeah. I'm curious about the last hand where Sam moved all in. Did he really cool me again? I get frustrated. I've only played 15 Hold'em tournaments in the last 9 months, and I've won 2. So I'm actually killing it. And then these guys in the studio, they play every day. They play literally. They've all played 50 tournaments. And so it's kind of did feel good, at least when I looked at the board. Only 2 people had won 4 tournaments in the last year, and I won 2. So it frustrates me because I want people to know that I'm still just crushing in these tournaments. Now, all the great players know, the poker world knows, because they've seen what I've done the last 3 years at the World Series of Poker. But yeah, I'm a little frustrated that I don't get more reps. I mean, I haven't played a tournament in the studio since March, and then I played the other day, and now I played today. So I want to show people that, that I can still, that I'm still at the top. And, but you have to prove it too. So, and my results the last 3 years are pretty phenomenal, but I have the massive chip on my shoulder, folks. Maybe it was the way I was raised. I think I was, I was never great at sports. I was never great at anything, and so I think there's a part of me deep inside that's insecure, even about my poker results, even though I know how good they are, and so then I'm always bragging, So I've had 3 pretty good years, but I think even at this stage in my life, even with everything I've accomplished, there's going to be some insecurity, and I think that's just part of being a human being.
I'm surprised to hear you still feel like you have something left to prove with all of your achievements. Is it just that you want to continue to show people you've still got it?
I think there's a thing where hold on, I'm turning this down. I think there's a thing where you can be the all-time great in a sport, and maybe there's a lot of people that give me all-time great status in poker, but who cares? Like, then you want to be the greatest today. So there's two things: all-time great. My results are all-time great, but then there's today. And so that's why I'm pleased at you don't want to be a ceremonial guy. You want to be the guy that's like, oh, Phil's here to play. You don't want to be the ceremonial guy. And so the last 3 years, I think my results in the biggest tournaments are number 1 or number 2. But I'm not getting the reps that I want. So that's pretty cool. But I mean, like, you just never know when your time is over. And I think, based on what Doyle and a lot of the other great players did, they were all great into their mid-70s. And so that gives me quite a bit of time to achieve my goal of 24 World Series of Poker bracelets. But yeah, there's always insecurity. There's insecurity about friendships. There's insecurity about, about life in general. And I think everybody listening to this can face that and recognize that. And you would think, wow, Phil knows he's great. Phil knows this. Phil, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we just don't. I just think, and then I think that's part of being a human being. And I think if you walk around thinking you're the greatest all the time, then you won't improve, you won't get better, and you won't focus. So, doubt hits me. Doubt hits, all the greats in the sports that they play. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's why Michael Jordan worked so hard. I think that's why Tiger Woods worked so hard, and I'm lucky enough to hang out with those guys. And I think you look at Michael's Hall of Fame speech, and it was all about, hey, I got dissed in high school, and and so you could see some insecurity there. The same thing with Tiger. And so I think that no matter what you accomplish, you're still not going to walk around all the time. Now, I walk around happy 90% of the time, but 99% of the time maybe. But yeah, interesting discussion about insecurities. Here I am laying my heart out. Oh, I'm insecure like everybody else on the planet.
Thank you for the time, Phil. Guys.
It's like, all right, we'll be seeing you.
All right. Wow. Honestly,
that was, yeah.
I think that's as close to humble as Hellmuth is capable of, to be quite frank.
For sure. He still had to let us know that he hangs out with Jordan and Tiger, but it was still humble. The overall arc of the interview was humbling.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm saying take it with a grain of salt. Like, I truly think that is Phil being at his most humble.
Mm-hmm. Man.
It's like, bro's getting up there, man. He's getting a little older. He's getting a little more further removed from MTTs. He's getting a little too rich for this shit, perhaps.
What if we just see him go into the lab and just start grinding solves and the wizard, and he just becomes this like GTO, just like trying to get on the level of all the high rollers.
Well, this is my issue,
right? Because I feel like he's avoided it for so long, right? Like the theory, he plays his game and he doesn't adapt to what the game has become.
He's going to continue to avoid it because that's the strategy that he wants to play by, which is fine. But then there's things that he said, which is true. Call it all-time great. Like, his results are really great. And 17 years ago, or however long it's been, maybe even longer, right, since that he's been playing poker, he's obviously cemented himself as a go.
He won the World Series in 1989.
Yeah, it's pretty sick, Yeah. And now he's coming up to the point where he's realizing the game is kind of passing his strategy by. But instead of saying like, okay, I want to be looked at as one of the best today and adapt and get into the lab and do these things, he's going to continue doing the things that he's always done. And at that point, it's not going to be able to, you're not going to have the same results that you're going to have X amount of years ago.
That's kind of like my ultimate question here is, Brian kind of proposes something that would make some sense if you truly do want to compare yourself to Jordan, always out there grinding and what. Jordan was going to evolve no matter what the game was. Mm-hmm. He wasn't just going to try to tough it out.
He played baseball even, he played multiple.
But also at some point he found the weight room, in the early 80s, athletes didn't lift weights.
Right.
They just stayed agile and that was it. And then he, came into the late 80s, early 90s where it became a bruiser type of league and he just got bigger. And LeBron's another great example of that. Like, bro's just a fucking animal. He's a lineman on wheels. that the equivalent of that in poker would be studying theory deeply.
Yeah.
So my question then becomes, does he care more about winning, or does he care more about preserving the ego that he has invested in having done things the way that he's done them his entire career? Because the fact is, if he went to theory and truly studied it at depth, he would find that the vast majority of what he does is not approved.
Yeah, and he'd have to admit that to himself,
right,
and maybe to others.
Right. Now, where I do think he would find some validation would be within the ICM model. Yeah. I think he would actually find a lot of validation. Like, he kind of got a lot right when it came to how ICM approaches MTs. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, he's just risk averse.
ICM predicates tournament life over anything else. He's good at preserving his. So there are things that he's done that are correct, like open folding sixes from low jack.
Yeah.
And
just like raise folding off of 9 blinds. Like,
yeah, raise folding 15 off of 15 with ace 10 off, where back in the day or whatever, if someone puts you all in, it's like, oh, of course you have to just stick it in because you're last in chips. But he knew some things that were correct, call it from the practical sense, where if people played wider, maybe he wouldn't have the strategy, but he did adapt to player pool. But now in the things that he's trying to play that can preserve the GOAT status, right? The people that are winning in the PGTs and the super high roller bowls, they're all playing very theoretically sound with some adjustments here and there. And they're willing to put in the work and put in the hours like behind playing, running sims and saying, okay, is my intuition correct here? Am I wrong? Versus Phil having the strategy of, I want to win my way for as long as I can to prove that I'm the greatest.
I honestly think that that's better for him, because I think that trying to overhaul 30, 40 years of experience into a more theoretically sound strat doesn't offer the same fruit that it would to somebody who is younger, fresher, and more open to these concepts. Because the fact of the matter is, he's not going to become he's too rich, and no offense, but like too old to put in enough work to be more theoretically sound than Chidwick.
The drive isn't there. Yeah.
Right. But even if it were, it's just like the resources, he's living such a life of abundance, like the resources necessary to get better than Chidwick at theory.
Yeah,
it's you got to be 21 poor and hungry.
Right. He'd have to. This is literally have to be all he does.
Right,
like day in and day out. And does he want to give up his life for that?
Right, like Jordan at 40 isn't trying to go out and figure out how to be better than Kobe.
Yeah,
it's just like you pass the torch. You just recognize, like, game recognized game. I can't at this age do what you do now at 19.
Yeah,
it's just not a thing. And I think I think that's what we're seeing in this interview.
Right. I was going to say that's kind of what was coming through.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really want to pass the torch, though.
No, he does not.
He wants to keep the torch.
Right.
He definitely wants, and understandably so, because generations prior to him, like Doyle's generation, were able to have that staying power. The game really froze in time for quite some period, from the 70s to like the boom.
Yeah.
The game was just like frozen in ice, and nothing really changed. Doyle's super system, he wrote that in the late 70s, early 80s.
Something like that.
It was still applicable in 2003 whenever we first got a hold of it, right? But by 2008, this book may as well have been shredded. Once Let There Be Range and more in-depth theoretical concepts started to come to the forefront, you can't just fucking jam all in with a draw, bro. Like that's not going to cut it anymore. And I think that that's kind of the issue that Phil has to suffer through, is that the game is the game is going through an iterative process maybe it was at first every 10 years,
and
then it was every 5, and now we might be down to like every 1 or 2 years, right? And that's just really difficult to keep up when you've already made your money. So unfortunately for, his ego, he's not going to remain at the top, and that's okay, bro. What you've done is remarkable.
Yeah.
It's unrivaled, and it won't be challenged, because the fact is the top and the middle are just, the gap is closing day after day after day. Right. Variance is truly choosing the outliers in most scenarios. So
that wasn't the case back when he was playing.
No,
best players won more.
Right. Daniel and Phil were going to be Daniel and Phil regardless, barring them hitting some streak where they go broke.
So far above the rest of the field.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, I was playing Poker Go stuff. Daniel was on my table talking about how poker was back in the day. He was 3-handed in a limit tournament for a bracelet, and he was saying that people would just start folding blind versus blind with king jack off pre-flop. And it's just okay, this Daniel's going to win because he's simply better and knows that you can't do these things. So variance isn't going to pick the winner. He's just going to win. And everyone was even in chips. And then after a few levels or whatever, he had 80% of the chips in play three-handed, and it's not a surprise.
Right.
But that's how tournaments used to be.
Right.
Now it's just like you play a no-limit three-handed final table, and you're playing a super high roller. Everyone knows how to put the chips in correctly and responsibly.
Yeah, and I think honestly, like, let's move on to the next era. Like, whether he wants to pass the torch or not, like, it'll get passed. And I think that, like, we'll all have a lot more respect for this version of Phil, which, you know, he still was able to keep his ego intact. Like, he's still able to remind us that he has 17 bracelets and he's going for 24. He's still able to remind us that he's richer than maybe the top 10 winners on the fucking PGT tour or whatever. Like, he's able to he's able to kind of like stick a finger in our eye and say, like, hey, just so you know, this is what making it fucking looks like.
Hey, and the way they're giving out bracelets now, he might get there in the next couple years.
Maybe. I don't know, man. I don't know anything about anything when it comes to tournaments, but I do know that
like the boulder always moves, right? He gets 24 bracelets. He didn't say he wants 30.
Yeah, sure.
Well, of course.
Sure.
He's not going to get to 24 and say, I'm out.
Well, it depends on his age. If he's 70, he might.
True.
You know, at some point you guys spend some time with the grandkids.
Yeah.
You imagine if it's like he's like 80. He's been like he turned.
We all
80.
thought Doyle was gonna get his 11th, right? And it just never happened.
Yeah, but like, could you imagine he's like 80 and he just finally gets that 24th bracelet and he just rides off in the sunset.
Yeah. God bless. I hope it happens.
Way to do it.
I truly do hope it happens.
It is the odd thing when it comes to ceremonies, but then like having these outfits for the main every year.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like, I don't want to have all these ceremonies. And it's like, well, you make an entrance.
Well, you know, the thing is, I think he's done it for so long and so many times that I don't think he can stop now.
Right.
He just can't. Right? It's a
thing.
It's a thing. It's his thing.
Yeah.
He's not going to stop doing it. Like, not one day he's going to wake up and be like, you know what? I don't want to have a big entrance.
How long ago did that? Was it the Spin Always? Like, I don't know. I don't know the lore.
So it wasn't always this theatrical. He used to. He would always show up late. Right, and this is before late registration was a thing, right?
Right, he would just be blinding off.
Yeah, he'd be blinding
late.
off. Yeah, and it was just a way to like, hey, that's an empty seat, and it's getting blind off. That's Phil. That's a seat. He walks in, everybody notices him, and then
ESPN camera crews already set up.
Right,
waiting
exactly.
For him.
But he wasn't like dressed up and had a band behind him.
He didn't have the Triton. He didn't have the gimp suit.
Well, the thing is, every year you have to, kind of one up it, right? So now it's become what it's become.
Yeah.
Which it's okay. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, he's
either.
cooking. Let him cook. People like it.
I'm down for the Hellmuth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
Whatever the fuck it is. We did see a tournament come to a close yesterday. Big shout out to Arden Cho, who got heads up in this thing. She was one of the, I guess, ambassadors that was put in by one of the sponsors. So nice 250K score for her. Big win for my guy Smilkovic. Smiley. He was the
Smiley.
He was
Shout out to Smiley.
Shout out to Smiley. He was the unfortunate one who sent the money to Munker guy.
He got it back and then he won a bunch of shit.
Yeah, he's been crushing it. He did well in the last chance, and now obviously ships this free roll for 500,000. Really nice. I guess I shouldn't say so certainly, but I would assume like the top 40 want to do some swapping amongst each other. Maybe you just like swap out 40%, 1% to everybody in the field. That seems like a pretty smart approach. Make sure that you get a little bit of rake back from this type of thing. Yeah. But in any event, like big day for him. He was able to ship this bad boy for 500K, I believe.
500.
Ultimately taking down Arden, as we mentioned. Really kind of wild final table, she played a lot of interesting hands. And at one point, I believe 3 or 4 handed, held the chip lead all the way down to basically heads up. I'm not entirely certain how it worked out where Smilkovic ultimately took over the chip lead. I think the hand was posted. Oh, I know what it was. He flopped or turned trips versus her top pair and was able to beat her out of a reasonably decent pot. Wow, she's pulling out all the stops here, just up out of her seat, can't beat that top pair type of thing. Like we still got some outs here,
Not many.
There's an ace in the deck.
It's the classic bag pickup, walk away, sit back down.
You got to do something. You got to try. You can't just sit there.
Got to do the prepay, pull out all the stops.
That part's true. That part is very true.
250 is nice.
250 is pretty nice. I think that it's worth noting that, and this will lead us into our further discussion, that, Foxen kind of made the comment of, what's going on here? We paid rake all year long. This was supposed to be some sort of, gift or return to those of us who finished in the top 40, like those of us who showed up day in and day out, that grinded this fucking tour. This was supposed to be a scenario where we get our just dues, and we basically have 25K in EV for showing up to this free roll. Now all of a sudden there's an extra 10 people in it, and that feels a little bit off. And then one of them happens to be a drunken mess at one of the feature tables. Like, that also feels pretty shitty. Like, who are these fucking guys? Before we finish that, this hand was so sick. So Arden opens Queen Jack, gets called by Artur out of the big blind. I think this is with 5 left. She double barrels here with a really good candidate to do so. He's definitely under repped with Ace Jack. He has a clear check call on the turn. So nothing really to see here. But the river tends to get a little bit spicy, We see I'm just gonna fast forward because these guys take so goddamn long. It's really ridiculous. Just do something already. So the river 5 of clubs comes through. For all intents and purposes, a brick. I would imagine if we ran this is definitely not a lead spot. But Artur goes for it. So they are about pot effective. So Arden has 300K behind. There's 320 in the pot. She's obviously jamming should he check. And he probably has a pretty clear call off. But instead, he bets third pot. And this is where I was like, okay, this is going to get really weird and a little bit spicy because you're going to lay him a really good fucking price.
Quarter pot. He went quarter pot.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So I see her take 1 chip off, and I was like, okay, so she's going to be all in minus a chip. No. She leaves 5 whole big blinds behind, which when you're only jamming for now third pot is not very much. So here it's 120 to win 605. And my guy just says she can't be. He falls victim to the R strat.
There you go. See, just pay, bro.
It happens to world class players. Yeah, just pay. Just fucking pay. What's going on here, my guy?
They always have it, huh? They always have it.
This is the problem when you break flow and you do things that don't really add up in theory. You put yourself in a scenario where it's like they're never bluffing, and then they have the fucking bluff, and you want to end it all.
End it all.
You love that hand. You feel so validated.
It's so good. It's so good. It's especially so good because she just saved 100,000 for really no good reason.
Right.
So now it's only 100,000 for him to call instead of 200,000.
Yeah.
Which, again, it's still
seems like a perfect size. She got it through, and when he does call, she's still
just in. Wild, just absolutely wild. So getting back to the Foxen tweets. We could see here that he said, I love the Poker Go Tour, but the PGT Championship, that was also, I agree wholeheartedly before we go any further, calling it a championship implies that this is a closed event and for the players of the tour. So I do think that that's worth noting. It was supposed to be a reward/showcase of the highest performers of the year that was turned into a complete joke by the Dream Seat nonsense. Not only did some equity from the Poker Go regs Not only did it take some equity from all the Poker Go regs, but it made a mockery of the game itself. Leave the clickbait nonsense shit to Hustler Live or whatever, which Vertucci was not happy. My guy had some things to say.
No.
I mean, I know it's shocking. No. I understand.
You mean he didn't just leave that one alone?
Yeah, you would think, right? You would think, but no, he went for it. We might be blocked by. Oh no, we're unblocked again. Okay, so we'll pull that one up in a second. But
you made it out.
We did make it out. So yeah, we continue on with the Foxen. He said, leave it up to the Hustler, whatever. Believe it or not, people enjoy watching high-level poker. We don't need to race to the bottom to get views, especially in an event that is supposed to have significant prestige. Don't get me wrong, Poker Go Tour giving back to the players like this is incredible, and I'm extremely grateful that. I only take issue with the execution that turned into something different than what I believed it should be for poker, the PGT business model, and players. What do you guys think about Foxen's response here. Let's start with Landon, because I think that you initially, when you were talking about the PGT Tour, you kind of had a different take on it that I think a lot of the public also shared in.
Yeah. Before you realize it's an overlay tournament, adding more people to it doesn't actually help.
Right.
Like, I was initially under the impression that adding more people was better for the tournament.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Right.
It's a free tournament.
It's a free, yes.
Right. So since they're not actually putting up a buy-in, it's problematic now to add more people, because effectively your seat is worth free EV. Right. You put up $0, your seat is worth $25,000.
It's like infinite ROI, right? Because you can just make 40K minimum off of zero.
Right. No matter how bad the person is you're bringing into the tournament, the more people you bring in, then the value of your seat goes down.
Yeah, and this is easily exemplified for anybody who doesn't quite follow, is what if they invited 1,000 people?
Right.
Dead money is only dead if they're putting something up.
Right.
It's otherwise just a drain, because it's impossible to have a negative ROI.
Right.
You didn't put any money up.
Right.
So everybody in the field has a positive ROI. And the more people you put in the field, the lower that ROI becomes.
Correct.
Right. So, and I should qualify that as the lower the dollar amount that ROI is worth, because for everybody it's infinite. You put up 0 and you can win something.
Yeah.
So it's infinite, but the dollar amount decreases. So, you know, they add 10 people, your seat may go from like 25K in value to like 20K in value. They add 100 people, it might go down to like 2K in value.
Right.
They add 1,000 people, and now all of a sudden it's like $200. And what are we even fucking doing here? Now, obviously that's not what happened, but
the point is the scale.
Right. The point is the point. Right. So I think whose response do we want to go to first here? Let's look at mine first. I didn't have much to say on this subject. I was just kind of perusing through the replies, and I found one in thread where Foxen was responding to David Williams. David Williams basically just said, sorry, I went to you guys. That's not what I wanted to do. So David Williams basically said, a good solution / compromise to the PGT Championship Pro Dream Seat debate is to have 2 tournaments, which I think was kind of like what you were proposing, Landon. Yeah. Kick off with a Pro-Am Invitational, free roll fun event similar to the current one, with more fun players, and then a championship for top leaderboard players with a buy-in and added money. Must play the first to play the second, to give players a chance to play with the top pros in the arena. I don't necessarily know if I agree with... I think it should still be closed. But, you know, nevertheless, I think that this is...
Find some ways in for some people.
Yeah, this is like a pretty reasonable solution, I suppose. But I think that generally speaking, this wasn't it. You know, like if we're talking about what's the best approach for PGT as far as like putting this championship, I wholeheartedly agree with Foxen in this instance. I think like you want to be able to showcase the best in the world in some sort of capacity. And also you want to reward them for showing up for you, because you've built a product off their back for the better part of a year.
For the regs that show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're also doing some things for next year where you need to have at least 3 caches in order to qualify, because for this year, if you spiked the main, you got to play. Right. And for them, it's like we're adding points to the main because we know all of our regs would like to play the main and have some potential good value there. They get some points if you make the final table. But then it also feels like some bad optics if there are some regs that grind the series every year and try to play 7 figures in buy-ins just to get wrecked by someone that FT'd the main once.
Yeah. So I was looking at the in thread, and David Williams replied to Foxen and said, "Tell me you didn't win a dream seat without telling me." And he was obviously fucking around.
Yeah, he was teasing.
And Foxen just goes, "I want to wake up and grind against top players daily and finish on top of the leaderboard seat," which is just like such a fucking great response. So we can kind of get in a little bit of what happened as far as like, I don't want to call it a mockery, but like speaking to Foxen's point, right? There was this guy, I can't remember his name, nor do I care to, but he was basically just like fucking drunk as shit at the feature table. He ended up lasting all the way down to like 21st or something along those lines. So he's there, he's in the camera, and honestly, like, this has become kind of a staple for these free roll events that run at PokerGo. Like, they turn into a party, which is great. Like, when you have amateurs, fine.
I've been in that studio. They have an open bar sometimes.
They do. They definitely do. And it's fine. Like, when you have an amateur, when you have like a pro-am of some sort, like, by all means, you're showcasing a different event. Like, have a good time, showcase a home game, like live that environment, take control. But I think Foxen point is really valid. Like you have 40 of the best players in the fucking world. Don't dilute that. Don't add 10 people in there that just, unfairly made their way in. Like they weren't contributing to the rake. You could say like they're not on the same competitive level, but it's an MTT and it's a fast structured one. And it's not that Arden deserves in some way to have her deep run cheapened by this. Like it's amazing what she did. She beat the best in the world to get second place. But also, like, it's a fast structured tournament. There's variance. Like you'll see that type of stuff occur.
It'll happen enough of the time,
right? And obviously, it happens enough because we see amateurs playing like the high roller events, right? And we see guys coming through and pulling out wins who may have like a break even or negative ROI.
Sometimes it's your day.
Yeah. Sometimes you just get to win. So I would just, I think I lean on the side of let's preserve this event in some sort of capacity and showcase the best of the best.
I do think a program is a good idea. Like have the best players in the world, also have some people that want to play with some of the best players in the world.
You kind of get the best of both worlds, right? Yeah. Where you do have like the fun players and the craziness that can happen in this tournament, and everyone knows that's what that tournament is. Yeah. And then the other tournament is the prestigious, really high level play that we come to expect.
Yeah, I think that's true. Now let's take a quick look at Vertucci's response to Foxen, which I don't.
A lot of words here.
I'm happy for you. I'm sorry.
We're just sorry that happened to you.
Sorry that happened to you.
I ain't reading all that.
It's wild, man. Like, how does he have like an AI that just scrapes the internet for the times that like Vertucci or Hustler Live is mentioned?
It's like if you add Phil in a tweet, it auto likes it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true. He definitely has a bot for that. Yeah. So Vertucci's response was, "These are some strong words from the Tank Stare King." That cuts deep, bro. My take, since HCL was mentioned, is PokerGo runs an amazing operating, I assume that means operation, that gives you a lot of opportunity to do what you love. I'd let them handle the business end of things. Okay, that hard fucking stop. Like, that is so aggravating to hear that stance where it's just like, hey, bro, just shut up and dribble. Okay? Like, you're in the league. Just shut up and dribble. It's like, we fucking pay to play, goddammit.
Yeah.
And a lot of people made decisions throughout the course of the year on what events they were going to play based off of the free EV that they were going to get at the end of the year. Getting a 20K kickback in EV of these seats, 25K, 30K, whatever the fuck it's worth, that can be a good motivator for people who otherwise might be like pretty close to breaking even. We see this online all the time, like the rakeback pros that are grinding for the sake of they have the ability to win a half a big blind per 100, but they're getting like enough rake back to where it kicks up to like 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah,
and that's sustainable. That's a nice livelihood. So I don't like this arrogance of coming from the vantage point of protecting the operator just because you are one or like whatever. It's like, bro, we all get it fucking wrong. Like businesses get it wrong all the time. And obviously like we're very critical of that specifically on the show because I think like it's important to be player first. But it also is just like, tell me you're not a player without telling me. It's that kind of thing where I just don't fucking get it. Continuing on with the tweet, it says, furthermore, this should never be about what one player wants. Okay, it's definitely not one player. There's 40 fucking players he's speaking on behalf for, and I promise you not a single one of them wants 10 recreationals sucking EV out of the prize pool. Yeah. All that free poker and clickbaiting has grown poker for all of us in the community. Many new players have come into our community because they enjoyed watching HCL. Something to keep in mind, a lot of viewers do find it boring to watch long tanks and stairs. And nobody, all right, this is just like a word salad. It's just, it kind of just like drags on to being gibberish, and it says a bunch of things that like you can't really fundamentally back. Like, have many new players come in because of live streams? Maybe. I don't know. Do you know? You know what the numbers are? I don't fucking know, man. Maybe they came in because tournaments are booming right now. Maybe they came in because fucking Bitcoin is up. Like there are a million. It's so hard to isolate one variable, and it's so bothersome to me whenever like people just arrogantly state that like I'm doing so much good.
Yeah.
It's like you're never going to hear me touting that like the Only Friends podcast has grown the game exponentially. It's like we're very small and very insignificant. And I think that that's true of.
I think we're the sole reason that the World Series of Poker main event broke records this year. I don't know about you.
You know what, Brian? I think you're fucking right. I absolutely think you're right.
Oh, I thought you were going to put the wizard up with the check mark.
Bro, I'm not there yet, man. If you think I'm there, you're sadly mistaken.
That would have been. That's when I know you would have made it as a switcher in this game.
That would have taken some copying and some pasting and some real quick.
If you did that, then Guapo would have started worrying about his job.
Hey, as you should, Guap. These tortillas ain't free, buddy. All right, so just putting a bow on all of this, what are your final thoughts as far as dream seats moving forward, as far as operating the PGT Championship, as far as how Foxen's take is when it comes to like delineating between products, right? Basically saying like don't become what we see 5 days a week on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't think the sponsorship money or like raising a prize pool is going to be that difficult to have two events. I do think that the two event strategy makes the most sense and gives the prestige to the players that have been playing in the entire year, and also have the Pro-Am event that people want to see some of the best players in the world operate and function with some of the people that watch consistently. Like, there's a lot of people that watch Poker Go and subscribe to it to watch the final tables, and it's easy to try to think you know what's going on behind the screen, but then actually playing a hand against some of the best players in the world is a different experience. And definitely some that people do want to have.
Right.
But kind of having the two events makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's room for both. There's an audience for both. And if you can put both on, then you will see that.
And then at some point too, it's not like everyone from the top 40 in the PGT for a Pro-Am would even want to play. So if they don't want to play, that's completely valid too.
Yeah.
Because some people will want to play for sure, and then some people won't. And then just kind of figure out the logistics from there.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty reasonable take. And look, like we're not criticizing Poker Go in the sense of like, how could you fuck us so bad? I think that was a very soft criticism by Foxen, and I think that it's worth echoing. You know, it's just like sometimes companies like swing and miss in a way that isn't that harmful, but very blatant, right? So this isn't that big of a deal. It took a couple $1,000s out of, your high rollers' pockets, and they're all going to live, and they all appreciate what you do anyway. They get breaks through whatever. The point is like, it's not life or death. They didn't like completely ruin the value of the event or anything along those lines. But it's such a tone deaf swing and miss, right? It's completely misunderstanding what the event meant to the players.
Like the spirit of the event.
Not just the spirit, but like truly what it meant to them, right? Like it's an absolute it's an ability to like EV farm in some sort of capacity, right? And then on top of that, it's an opportunity where nobody's risking anything and they just get to battle straight against the leaderboard, right? There isn't a wreck in the field, as far as I understand. Like, I don't think any wrecks made it into the top 40. Maybe, though. I might have overlooked it. Anyway, doesn't really matter. Point is like, this isn't your usual 25K, 50K open event where 10% of the field, 15% of the field is kind of deadish money. This is like the best of the best competing for a very large prize pool with nothing up for grabs. And that's a model that's worth proving if you're Poker Go. Because that's the direction we want to start to see things take. If we want to see elite talent and put it on display, we need to be able to incentivize them. And a free roll like this, where they're playing for 6 figures or 7 figures in prize pool, and 5 figures in EV, is a great fucking starting point.
It's almost like paying them an hourly.
Yeah, to some degree, right? So I think that like that's just what we're saying, is that it's a real big miss, and it's a blatant miss to anybody who's really thinking about what this event means to the audience, what this event means to the players, what this event means to poker as a whole, to the growth, to the potential modeling moving forward as far as like things that are sustainable. So yeah, it's like, they shouldn't be dragged for this, but like no. I think like a slap on the wrist where it's like, hey, remember us? Like, this was once for us, speaking for the audience and the players, right? And you kind of took that away now, whatever, you make it for the sponsor instead.
Yeah, and the good news is it's a pretty easy fix, and I'm sure Poker Go come next year is going to rectify this and make it back to what it was, and because they're very good at listening to the players and what the players want. And
yeah, I agree.
Sure, they'll do that.
I do think the dream seat aspect does make sense to have celebrities and casual fans play together for a
right.
shared
Have the
prize.
dream seat tournament, right? And like that fine. Like if you want to include that as a part of the overall PGT Championship, where it's like the winner of the dream seat tournament then gets to play the PGT Championship, fine.
Yeah,
like
it's one person.
One person doesn't matter at all, and then that becomes one person you can profile, right? It's the amateur that gets into the PGA Tour, that type of thing.
They increased the field by 25%.
Exactly, that's a big difference, right? And I think that's significant. All right, let's get out of here. We've been dragging on and on. We got Twitter Tuesdays that I missed 3 shows in a row, so we're gonna wrap on that.
Okay.
And we asked you, what are your 2024 poker resolutions? Mine obviously is to play online more. I can't wait for that.
Of course,
That's cool. The amount of people who thought I was serious.
I thought you were serious at first.
Are you
too.
serious?
How?
I just thought you were serious at first.
I put the disguise emoji up.
I think that's how you filter the people that follow you on Twitter but don't watch the show.
Right.
It was almost like
right.
it was almost like the thing with you with the cat, and it's like, who is this? And it's like, it's Berkey with a cat. Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Chippy at Stugat says to stop the bleeding. I feel you, bro.
I love it.
I feel you. Brandon G. Smith says to get to 5 flags on the Hendon mob, so he's looking to go international. My guy, let's go. Chris at Baloo711 says to stop believing that the Mizreg can actually bluff the river because he should. They just never do, LOL. Bro, just pay. Just fucking pay. I'm an idiot. I have you guys on screen.
I was going to say something, but I didn't know if you had the capability.
Bro, I'm slow over here.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Sam Warren says flop more sets in No Limit Hold'em, flop fewer sets in PLO.
Yeah.
I get you. I get you, Sam. I understand. SCM Burrow at Burrow12345 says to finally find the right spot to use my one time. I'm getting older now and I've still got it in my back pocket. Let's hope you really use it wisely, sir. Blue says 15 hours a week studying before the WSOP so I can just cash one event and say I did it. I think that's a great actual goal. Like some of these are memes, but that's a real one right there.
I like that.
Geek says to beat every month year over year. That's not in your control, but I'm rooting for you, kid. Yeah. That's hard. You might have to just martingale it.
He can do it.
Just raise the stakes every month. Start at 25 cent, 50 cent in January, end the year at 25.50. You'll be golden. And then Nadav says, I'm not sure what a good resolution would be, so I'm going to have a bot set one and get back to you. Based. All right, team. That's going to do it for us. We are off for the weekend. We got the Academy coming next week. So what we're going to do actually to bring you the podcast at the normal hour of 11 a.m. is we are going to record in the evening after the Academy. So you guys are going to get it live still the following morning at 11 a.m. I should say live to tape. We're not going to miss a beat. So be sure to tune in Monday, 11 a.m. Pacific. If you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff that we need you to do in order to grow the channel. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know your resolutions if you haven't already for 2024. And be sure to see us on Monday to celebrate the Steelers opening round. Go Steelers! Let's go, squad. We'll see you guys on Monday.
Peace.